Hi, I'm KS Garner, and you're listening to the Solo Nerd Podcast. Today, I'll be speaking with writer Leland Bjerg here and artist Joshua Thompson here to promote their upcoming comic Berserker Monk, soon to be on Kickstarter. Welcome, Leland. Welcome, Josh.
Thanks for having us, KS.
Well, thanks for reaching out and joining me today. But outside my introduction, who is Leland Bjerg and Joshua Thompson in their own words?
I'm a freelance comic writer, editor, and letterer. I live in the Okanagan in British Columbia, Canada. I tend to write stories about I put dogs in a lot of my stories. And I tend to write science fiction and fantasy. And I like the kind of sci-fi that puts people in interesting scenarios so that we can explore humanity. That's kind of what I get excited about.
And I'm Josh Thompson. I'm also living in the Okanagan Valley, a freelance artist. Been drawing comics for as long as I can remember, but just sort of got serious about it in like the last 5 years. And I just love drawing ultra violent stuff. So this comic was right up my alley.
So what is Berserker Monk about?
It's about a sort of living folk hero who has been around for ages, and stories have sprung up about him. So the framing device for the story is a group of people sitting in a tavern discussing him and telling different conflicting origin stories about where he came from, and arguing. And in this 3-issue arc that we're putting out on Kickstarter, in the 3rd issue, the monk shows up and gets to tell his side of things.
Interesting. Yeah, when I was looking at some of the images that you send me, Leland. So I don't know if either of you are familiar with Dungeons and Dragons, but in the current campaign that I'm playing in right now, I'm playing a monk, and the images of the monk and the fighting kind of reminded me, I guess, of what I envision. I think what the GM envisions of how she fights, as far as all the damage that she can inflict. I think we're like level 14 right now, so she inflicts a lot of damage. And I was thinking of how like Tomoe class, and I felt like monk and barbarian would be too much because she's already doing a whole lot. Right? So yeah. But can all of you elaborate on your contribution to the creative process on Berserker Monk? I mean, obviously I said before, Leland, you're the writer, and Josh, you're the artist, but like how has your contribution been like throughout this whole creative process on the comic?
Well, I'll go ahead. Well, actually, can I talk about Josh's contribution, because I feel like working with Josh transformed the story from what I imagined. When I wrote this, I was reading Andrew MacLean's Headlopper, and I pictured something a lot more cartoonish when I was writing the initial scripts. I was picturing, because I had this goofy idea, this idea that I thought would be fun of a character with this power set where his fist is almost like a cookie cutter, right? Or so like there's a force field that pops out a section of his opponent when he punches them or punches an object, and then I started bringing these scripts to the workshop, and Josh got excited about them. It was like, I want to draw this, and my originally sort of itchy and scratchy level of violence got filtered through Josh, and it's like, oh, this comic is definitely R-rated now, thanks to him, and I think changed for the better and embraced what it was, right? I think when a story has Berserker in the name, things better get berserk. But yeah, go ahead, Josh, if you've got thoughts on that.
So yeah, we sort of started a group of just local creators a while back, and we just sort of brought in work every week just to sort of get thoughts on everyone, see if we're going in the right direction. And yeah, when Leland brought that, I mean, I'm a big fan of like Conan type stories and like fictionalized history, Dungeons and Dragons type stuff. So when he thought of that, when he brought that, I mean, and obviously I just take everything and go ultra violent. So yeah, when he brought that, I immediately perked right up, and I wasn't really working on anything at the time. This was sort of right when I started getting like serious about wanting to do this stuff. So I was just kind of building up a portfolio. So this was really, I wanted to draw a few pages of this just to sort of have a portfolio piece, and Leland really liked it. So yeah, we just sort of started collaborating. I don't know how far you had originally planned to go with the story, but we just kept writing and drawing and got 3 issues done relatively quick. It was a lot of fun to work on. So it was a great collaborative piece for sure.
Yeah.
So since you kind of use this as a way of building your portfolio, Josh, was it kind of like intimidating in a way to work on a project? Really not. I mean, did you know where you wanted to go with this, or where you saw it going? And like,
I mean, not really at first, because honestly, I didn't expect it to go anywhere. I liked the pages he'd written. I asked him if it was cool. Like I wasn't saying, hey, I'm taking over your project now or anything. I just wanted to draw something, and
that's
if you
right.
liked it, cool.
That's
And
right. I forgot.
did, so.
I forgot that you straight up were just like, I'm drawing this script.
But yeah, it was never any pretense of like, I'm your new artist. This is it. So I mean, at first I was just drawing it for myself. And then, I mean, yeah, once he was like, let's start doing this, then yeah, maybe a little bit of, now it's time to sort of make sure I'm up to the task. But I mean, all the kind of stuff, like I got to draw crazy cannibals and ghosts and all just awesome stuff that I would love to draw. Like 6-year-old me, if you'd said, hey, you're going to be drawing this, and man, would I have been excited.
So Leland, I know you mentioned earlier that you like to write like your sci-fi fantasy and in like people's humanity in it when you're writing it, which I find interesting, because I always say the same thing about my own writing. Is like I like to explore people's humanities and the complications that come along with that. So how was integrating that into this story, like with character development and creation, and even like with world building?
Well, at the time that I started this story, I'm still obsessed with story structure and the hero's journey and that kind of stuff. But at the time I was like really discovering it and super passionate about it. And I loved the idea of a story that it kind of explored stories and how people make sense of the world using them, and how, a person's story can take on a life of its own and grow beyond them. And so, yeah, a big part of this was like playing around with mythology and it's right. I put it right in the mouths of the characters. Most of the issues are multiple short stories that are, woven together. And, one of the stories is about an ancient hero's shrine, being desecrated because the king wants to build some vanity project. And the narrative kind of talks about how, that's what heroes are paid. That's how heroes are paid, right? A great hero is not going to become royalty, right? They're going to die doing something hopefully great for their civilization, for their community. And what they get is a legend, right? That's kind of the movie. movie where Brad Pitt is Achilles.
Troy.
Okay, yeah, Troy talks about that a lot, and I think that's a cool idea that heroes get paid in becoming legends, and so this ancient hero that's been almost forgotten, but his shrine still exists, that gets desecrated, and that's breaking the compact between the nobility and the people that protect them and that protect the community. So yeah, there's an example of the kind of stuff I get excited about, and hopefully that plays a supporting role, and in the foreground is an awesome angry spirit emerging from the desecrated memorial and doing cool ghost stuff.
And that's the stuff I get excited about.
Well, Leland, we've already gone into Josh's contribution to the comic and how great that is. So what about, I know Gabriel is, and they're my dogs. So Gabriel is the colorist that you told me, right? So how did you discover him and decide that he was right for this project?
So Gabriel got brought on just as a freelancer. We had a writer, we had an artist, and we didn't have a colorist in our community at the time that we felt was a good fit. And so we just put the word out, started looking around. Gabriel's in Argentina. He's a fantastic guy. I mean, he primarily speaks Spanish, but he's a great collaborator. And so, we've never met him in person. He's just this awesome guy that we send inks to, and he transforms them. And we get something awesome back. And his contribution in particular, he's got an eye for composition, and I really appreciated that about him. He was pretty bold, where he would send stuff back and he'd be like, this was messed up, but I fixed it. And almost always he made it better. I can think of one time where the characters in the inn are all sitting around a turkey, and they're pulling drumsticks off of it and stuff. There was one time where he was like, the turkey wasn't in this shot, and like added a big turkey in front of a character, and it was like, well, we don't need the turkey. We don't need to see the turkey here, man. It's drawing focus. Other than that, it's just 100% noticing little details and adding them in, thoughtful little touches. And yeah, he's a good enough artist that when he sees a problem, at times he just redraws it, and we're like, great, thank you. So yeah, we just get this, found this amazing, talented guy who, from afar, makes our comic sparkle
So much better.
So how is it working with people, they're not just strangers, but they also, they speak a different language, they live in a different country, different time zone, what have you. So how does that work? Is that do the pros outweigh the cons, if there are any? Like, how? Because I mean, it sounds like it's a normal thing. Because when I do these interviews, more and more people say that they find people like Fiverr or what have you, and they live on the other side of the world, so, or whatever it may be. So how is that whole process of like finding people, and then, like I said, they live in a different country and speak a different language?
It's, I don't know, it's surprisingly easy. It's surprise. I found it. I had a lot of trepidation about it, particularly my very first project. That was I didn't have a community here yet. I was just wrote a comic that I liked on my own and went online and tried to find someone. Was all worried, and met a guy from the UK, Andrew Morgan, and he was amazing. He was super enthusiastic. I mean, there was no language barrier. We were just in different time zones, but that really alleviated a lot of my nervousness. And so I've done online collaborations a few times, and For every way that distance can be a barrier, in some ways it's an aid, right? It makes it very easy to be professional, right? There's no, like having mine and Josh's personal connection is fantastic. We're friends in real life, and it makes working together great. But not having a personal relationship, so then it's just about the work, and you just deal with the work. And if the people you're collaborating with are professional and they put the work first, and I think that's something that Gabriel exemplifies, in that if he sees a flaw, he doesn't go, I'm just doing it for some Canadian guys, who cares, right? I get paid either way. When he sees a mistake, it bothers him. He wants the work to be the best it can be, and he makes it better. And we are also people who want the work to be the best it can be. So yeah, we get along great.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever have a collaboration or brought on a collaborator that it didn't work out?
Yeah, I've had relationships that I've ended, and for me, when it happened, it was basically recognizing that the way I work is not compatible with the way that this person works.
Mm-hmm.
So, it was like somebody whose art I loved, liked what they did with my scripts, but their workflow and my workflow wasn't compatible. Their idea of their idea of accountability was different from my idea of accountability. I'm trying to be diplomatic here, because I do really respect this person and love the work that we did together. But yeah, it was like, basically I just got stressed out. We were still making great comics, but it made the whole process stressful for me. And I was just like, you know what? I'm going to try working with somebody else, because it wasn't worth the headache. It was taking the joy out of the work. So I was like, I'm going to find somebody who I click with.
Yeah, Leland, I only ask that. I don't mean to like pry in your business or make it, stress you out or anything like that. It's just, I ask that because a lot of us don't really know the language to use and how to communicate with people that we're collaborating with, especially if we're like brand new to making comics and trying to like print them and sell them and things like that. So like I said, we don't really know the language. So it may be difficult with expressing what we want, and then probably even worse with what we don't want, because then we don't want to seem unprofessional. We don't want to seem like we're wasting people's time. So I was just trying to get like your perspective on how you handled a situation with someone that it didn't work out.
No, it's a great question. And yeah, I wish I had I wish I had been given a map for that kind of thing. But yeah, I think almost every time it's going to be, it's a kind of relationship. Are you familiar with, I'm going to move into the adjacent area of like romantic relationships.
Mm-hmm.
They talk about your language of love, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think there's a language of love of comics as well. Right. And so you need collaborators that speak your language of love of comics, or you need to learn each other's language and mode of creation, and yeah, get that sorted. And the only way to do it is to talk. How are we doing this thing? How do you what do you need when you're creating, right? I had a collaborator recently that doesn't like doing Zoom calls and feels guilty because a lot of the times that's how this is done now. Everybody jumps into a video chat, and that just gives them tremendous anxiety. And it was like, no problem. Thanks for speaking up. We'll do everything via text. I got great work. I was super happy. Right. Let's just figure out how they operate, and, because we're all trying to get the best out of each other. Yeah.
So I guess this is a good segue into this next question. What advice could either of you offer to other artists, writers, inkers, whatever it may be, creators in general, that you wish someone would have told you when you first started?
Josh first on this one.
Well, I mean, I feel like I just waited so long that I wish I'd gotten started doing this sooner. And it's so much easier now to do, like with stuff like Fiverr. Like both Leland and I are pretty active on Fiverr, and it's just like, and there are so many other places like that out there that are just so good for hooking up with people. So, I mean, the most important thing to do is just get started. Like if you're working by yourself, like for me, I'm not a writer. So it was always, I just didn't like trying to write my own scripts. They were always really juvenile.
Oh, we lost your audio, bud.
Your audio, Josh.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, you cut out at you wrote juvenile scripts.
Oh yeah, sorry, someone just called me. Yeah, so I mean, first thing I would say is if you can find like-minded people in your area, that was a game changer for me. I think that was a game changer for Leland. That was all of us. Like if you can find a community around you that can help you, give you advice, you know, just look at your stuff and tell you what they like, what they don't like that. When I first started doing that was like when everything changed for me, where I was just sort of drawing on my own and wondering like, okay, how do I get this done? I don't even know the first step about drawing a comic or getting a comic out there. And then I met these people and they told me, you know, what they liked, what they didn't like, where I could change, where I could grow, and I could collaborate with them. So, I mean, that's the most important thing that's happened to me was finding a group of collaborators nearby. But other than that, you just have to draw and do it. Like, don't sit around and wait and say, you know, there's always tomorrow, because eventually tomorrow's run out. So just do it today.
Nice. I mean, my number one piece of advice is finish things. I think that's a finish things, and that will help you transition from the initial motivator that I had for creativity and that I see in lots of other creators that I talk to at workshops and when I'm editing. You're kind of a junkie when I find a lot of young creators are like junkies, right? There's that rush where you think up something that delights you, and you get so thrilled about that, and you chase after that. And when that peters out, because eventually the novelty of that cool idea goes away, you run out of gas, and you need something else to keep you going. You need a little bit of creative endurance. And the other thing is, at some point in every story, it's going to get hard, right? You're going to get stuck. You'll have 5 to 10 ideas that excite you, and you throw them all down on the page. Then there's all these annoying things that where you have to connect your cool ideas. And how do you do that? And that's writing. That's the part, everybody's got cool ideas. I think everybody's got a cool story in them, but it's having having that toolkit of learning how to put it all together. And in my experience, the only way you get that toolkit and get good at using those tools is by finishing projects. I used to work in construction, and the immediate analogy I use is somebody who just gets excited, starts a project, and then runs out of steam and discards it, gets excited and does that over and over again. You're building foundations and not building houses, right? And and people get really ambitious, and they want to write an epic, they want to build a mansion, but you're just building mansion foundations over and over again. You're not actually learning how to build a house. And so make things you can complete, short whatevers, right? Whatever medium you're passionate about, make it short, make short comics, make 8-page comics. And then, you get to go through the whole process, make your little 8-page comic and print it, make mistakes on that. Don't make mistakes, like I did. I started with a 10-issue arc that I was sure on. And then issue 1 made a whole bunch of mistakes, at every right, but made mistakes writing, made mistakes lettering, made mistakes at the printers, right? I didn't know anything about RGB and CMYK. Made all the mistakes and ended up with a book that I felt hampered everything that I had dreamed of doing after that. And if I just made a little short comic first, maybe I would have been able to finish my big fancy thing.
Yeah, it's so weird because normally people say, just get started, like Josh, how you were saying, just go ahead and get started and just go from there. But here, what you just said, Leland, about actually finishing the work is different. And I don't really think you don't really think about that, because when I write my stuff, I try to write with the ending in mind and then work my way. It's like, how I'm gonna get there, I don't know. We'll just figure it out. But it has to end this way that I have in mind. That's how I'll finish it. So yeah, it's just I feel like a lot of people don't think with the ending in mind, or with how they see it ending in a way. I mean, obviously things change when it gets to the ending. But I think people are so afraid of actually starting it that they're not even thinking of how it's going to end. So when they do start it, and then they just leave it like that, I think just actually starting it was enough for them. So it is important, like you said, that they actually do finish it, because they're just building a foundation. They're not actually building the house. Yeah.
And just, getting the whole process under your belt, right? Doing it badly at every step, but doing every step. That's worth so much. And I don't know, for me, I'm a procrastinator. So, right. I get anxious. I get fearful about a particular step.
Yeah.
Just turn away. And it's right. It's like, no, you can't do that. You got to grit your teeth and do the part you're scared of. And it'll be that much less scary next time.
Yeah. So throughout this whole process, or any other process on a creative project, did you, or like, do you now ever get overwhelmed with anything? Does it ever become too much? And it might not even just be the project itself. It can be you dealing with your home life and your relationships with friends or partners. Either of you may be working a separate full-time job, part-time job, whatever it may be, kids, dogs, whatever it may be, or just dealing with housework, stuff like that. So like, does it ever become too much? And how do you typically manage your mental well-being when it does become too much?
I mean, I often find myself getting overwhelmed. When I first read over like one of Leland's scripts, like he's one of the smartest guys I know, and like the way he words scripts, I find myself scratching my head like, how the heck am I going to draw that? And whenever I first get a script, it's just like a quick read through, and yeah, for most of the time I'm just like, oh man, like I don't even. And the second time I read it through, I'm sort of a little more thoughtful, and that's when I sort of plan panels and stuff in my head, and it gets a lot easier that time. But yeah, I always try and just approach it, and maybe it's not the right way, but I just go one page at a time, as opposed to just like looking at the big picture. Because I think that's the thing. When the first read through, I'm looking at the entire thing and just seeing this giant jigsaw puzzle with a zillion pieces, and how am I going to put it together? But then I just focus on a small piece here, a small piece there, and it works out. But I mean, as far as like personal life, finding time to like get away is tough. But I mean, I do have a day job. So usually when I get home from my day job, I come up onto the computer or whatever, and I try and donate like at least a couple hours to just art, whatever it is, if I'm actually working on a project for someone. If not, I'll do my own thing. I mean, if I wasn't drawing, I'd go crazy. So even if I'm not doing something for someone else, I have to be drawing at some point. And even if I'm just like, whatever the new She-Hulk's on tonight or something, I'll throw that on and grab a piece of paper and just doodle. That's what I do. So, I mean, I love that I'm able to do this and even make a little money on the side from it. So can it be stressful? It can, but then I just have to remind myself, like, this is what you've always wanted. And even if you're doing a project that's like not 100% your passion, it's still, I get to draw like cool stuff for a living. So just taking the step back and appreciating where I am now as opposed to where I was a few years ago, just like on the outside looking in and desperately wanting to know how to get there. And now my journey's on its way and I'm really happy with how it's going. So I don't know. It's tough to get too overwhelmed when you're that excited about where you're going.
What about you?
For me, it's anxiety. I'm a very anxious person. Everything makes me anxious. I was just putting together Berserker Monk PDFs before this interview, and I'm compiling the art files and my PDF programs, making the pages different sizes, and I can just feel this ball building up in my chest, the stress ball, and like, you know, learning how to be conscious of that and dissipate it and not let it turn into anger or frustration. And that's the number one thing for me. It's every new thing is you know, I'm a writer searching for a metaphor and not finding one. A scary thing. everything new is scary, and so it's learning techniques to deal with it. This process, like this, I'm good with. I can talk. So once I have an interview, I'm good. I can do this pretty well. Getting interviews, and by the way, thank you for reaching out. You gave us a nice little launch pad, but like one of my least favorite things is sending out query letters, right? Of just, you know, going to all the podcasts. It's like, okay, who wants to talk to Josh and I? You know, because I just feel like I'm bothering people. That's my default.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us have that, right? Is like, oh, I'm bothering people. It's like, well, hey, we made a cool comic. We're fun to talk to. It's not a bother, right? Just try to build myself up. But one of my coping mechanisms now is I've actually, because I'm a nerd, I made a spreadsheet for myself. So I have my query letter anxiety spreadsheet. So, you know, I've got it broken up into columns. I've got, you know, podcaster reviewer that I'm messaging. When I sent how anxiety inducing how intimidating do I find them? I rank them 1 to 5. When did I send the query? And what response did I get? And I wanted to track it because I wanted to teach myself that the thing I'm afraid of is not, it doesn't happen. Right? Like nobody, I've yet to meet anyone in the world of comics who's mean. I'm sure they exist, but nobody I've met is mean. Everybody's nice. Everybody is just passionate about comics. You know, the thing I'm afraid of, I think, is like, I'm going to send a query letter and I'm going to get a response back like, who are you? You're a nobody. Your comic sucks. Why would I ever talk to you? Right? No, nobody sends that, you know? Yeah. So yeah, from my last, I did a Kickstarter for another story I did called Capsules in the spring. And I did this process for that. And it was, I was just looking at the spreadsheet this morning and from that one, and it was like, you know, I either got acceptance responses or kind rejections. Right. And it's just like, so yeah, that's my biggest thing that I'm always dealing with. But I have got great great techniques that I figured out. You know, when in doubt, just double down on being a nerd and make a spreadsheet.
Well, I hope I reduced some of the anxiety. So what I try to do is give people as much information as possible before they come on. So like how long it's going to last and what we're actually going to talk about, and that, you know, none of these questions are like spontaneous. I mean, some of them are, but it's mostly like the same formula with pretty much everybody. You already know what you're going to get. It's audio, it's video, you know, it's pre-recorded, so it's not live. So you don't have to worry about like, oh, you know, I'm swearing too much, or I'm talking too much, or I'm not talking enough, or whatever it may be, because we can always just edit it out, right? So yeah, I hope I did that for you, Leland.
Oh, you're great. You're great.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm, you know, I don't know. I tend to approach this stuff from like, I think I'm my anxiety is overtuned. I don't necessarily want the world to be shaped to my anxiety because it's too right. So it's like, you're doing awesome. I feel totally safe. Thank you.
Oh, good. That's good to hear. But my last question for you two is, what is your idea of success? So I ask that because as creators, if we're not getting regular paychecks from a full-time job or making consistent revenue from our art, we're considered failures, or we consider ourselves failures. Many of us will put our dreams and projects on the back burner, or give them up altogether, because this career path can be highly intimidating and competitive. So what is your idea of quote unquote success?
All right, that's
All right.
tough. I mean, it's changed so much. Like once upon a time, if you'd asked me that, I was like, oh, I have to be a Marvel artist, or else like everything I've worked towards has been a failure. And I mean, let's be honest, if Marvel came knocking and said, hey, do you want to draw Wolverine? I wouldn't say no, but I just love being able to work on our own things. Like I had so much fun being able to, you know, contribute with Leland and give my thoughts with Berserker Monk and coming up with this just awesome ultra-violent story. So, I mean, I'm working on projects and I'm getting paid for projects that like even 3 years ago I wasn't. So am I a success story? Maybe not quite, but I'm on my way for sure. I don't know where the goalpost is when I finally say, here I am. I've done it. I'm a success, but I know that I'm on my way. So that's a great feeling.
Uh-huh.
Nice.
What about you,
I like that. I think about the internet a lot and how it affects how we think. And something I'm an old millennial, and so I lived in the before smartphones and even the internet for a while. And I grew up in a small town, so like I was, you know, 10, 20 years behind everybody else in the 80s and early 90s. And something that kids in my small town got to have, most of us got to be known for something. Our community was so small that one kid was the fastest runner. Another kid, I was the, you know, the smart nerd. You know, one kid could hit a baseball the furthest. Another kid was a great artist. Another kid was, you know, we got to be, each of us, pretty much everyone was some kind of big fish in that small pond. And something I feel in myself and I see in younger creators who like grew up immersed in social media is they don't get to have you don't get to have a small pond anymore. Right? You feel like you're competing with the world, right? You go on Instagram, the artists that you feel like you're peers with are, you know, professionals. and so like, I kind of want to, I guess I have a meta comment, first of all, that I think we should all give ourselves a break on what success is, because I think we look out into the online landscape and the goalposts look like they're on the moon, because we see and have this feeling like we're in competition with the greatest people on the planet. We don't get to do it in our little small town or our little community, and then graduate from that into a larger, go to a major city and ply our craft there, and maybe we grow to national or international levels. So yeah, I think that really, I guess, hurts most of us who want to do anything, right? Anything outside the norm, anything where you don't have people in your own community that you can kind of look up to because it's a niche thing. The first I guess the first thing is like, for me, redefining what success is was ironically how I started to succeed. When I stopped going, it's the moon or bust, and started going, well, first what's the nearest little mountaintop around here? Let's climb that. Mm-hmm. and see how that goes. So yeah, I mean, success for me, yeah, it's a process, I guess, is to bring it to the personal level. Learning to treat success as a process instead of a destination has helped me actually grow, instead of going, oh, that's so far, how could I even conceive of getting out there? Once it's like, just baby steps, celebrate sitting down at my okay, yeah, now that I've rambled, my short answer is success is every time I sit down at my computer and commit myself to writing. Even if what I write is crap, even if I write nothing, but I sit there and think and am focused, that's success. That is the path to success. And so it's success as a process, is doing it, do the work, remember why you love it, and give yourself a pat on the back. You've succeeded. If you made time today to do the thing that you're passionate about and you want to grow at, you're succeeding.
Uh-huh. Yeah. I couldn't remember the last time I sat down on my computer and actually wrote anything. It's been a while. It's been a long while. It's been really busy. But yeah, I mean, I think the same way as well. Just like having a thought in my head and actually writing it down. I might just take notes on it or something, and hopefully I'll come back to it. But I finally got it out of my head and wrote it down. So that little win is good for me.
Yeah, that's great. That's an important habit. I have I started labeling my notebooks because I had 6, and I was just putting now I partition them off.
Yeah, I mean, I used to have sticky notes. I don't know if you can see them, but like that with all my stuff too.
Nice.
I got a bunch of sticky notes laying around here with stuff on my desk and here and all kinds of places, and on my note app on my phone.
Nice. I keep Post-its on my wall for all my ongoing tasks, so I don't let something slip.
Yeah, I don't have any kind of organization like that. Anytime that I have to find something I need, usually I have to dig through a pile this deep of papers to find something. I really do need to get a little better at that, but it's just not my wheelhouse.
Come on, Josh, you gotta get something better. You gotta get a schedule. You gotta get some sticky notes or something, some reminders or something. That's what I have. If it's not on my schedule, it's not happening. But is there anything else that either of you want to touch on about Berserker Monk as a whole that I may have missed? The Kickstarter or the comic, or?
I mean, it was a labor of love for us. It was every step of the way. We worked so hard, and talk about success. When we got the first issue printed, and I could show that off to my dad and just be like, yeah, look. It wasn't all talk when I was a kid. I was able to make a comic.
Oh,
that was
nice.
A huge feeling of a success. And just, yeah, I love what we did there. And I hope that everyone, I think it's got enough cool kung fu action, pirates, ghosts. It's got like something in there for literally everyone. So I think if you take a chance on it, you're going to like it.
Yeah, right on. Well, I like, this being a podcast about the process. I think this book very much came out of the process of us just kind of going, well, we're just gonna make something, right? And when it was done, and I feel, and I shouldn't even, like when it was done, I didn't even really realize that it was good, and I was really proud of it. And like, because we started this book like a few years ago. We did a big hiatus during COVID because our only motivation was like make comics, take them to cons, and then over COVID, we kind of just paused it. We knew we had the third book ready, and then over that time we learned a bunch. We found online communities. I did a Kickstarter, my first Kickstarter, and was blown away that, oh, you could just find an audience. You can be like, all right, thanks gatekeepers, we're just going to hop over and see what people want. And we have 60 pages of this awesome comic in the bank. Why aren't we putting it out there? Why aren't we sharing it with people?
Well, what should I guess potential backers expect if they go onto the Kickstarter page when it actually does launch? Do you know the rewards that are being offered right now or anything like that?
Yeah, that's great question. Something I should have thought about more. Well, there's going to be all 3 issues of Berserker Monk, which is 60 pages of bloody kung fu Tarantino-esque action. We're going to be doing stickers. We're going to be doing Josh is going to be selling arty things. What's the thing that you
like
do?
Commissions, original art stuff.
Yeah,
like
commissions.
Prints maybe.
Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't. Yeah. I guess we should probably lock all that down pretty quick.
Hey? Yeah, we won't stumble over this any longer. Right now we're selling a comic. There will be commissions from Josh. We're going to do pins. I had a great experience doing pins for my last Kickstarter. And yeah, a bunch of different stickers and probably some posters and then actually that's a good, I should put some feelers out and look at what other people are doing and what people like, because ultimately I just want to connect people with stuff they're going to get excited about. So
yeah. All right. Well, again, I want to thank the writer Leland Bjerg and artist Joshua Thompson for joining us here today to promote their upcoming comic Berserker Monk, soon to be on Kickstarter. I highly recommend our listeners to give Berserker Monk a look, share, and back if they can when the Kickstarter launches. All of Leland's and Josh's socials will be listed in this episode's details alongside a Kickstarter link for those who are interested in following along for updates about Berserker Monk. Again, I am KS Garner, and you have been listening to the Solo Nerd Podcast. Thank you.
Thank you so much.